Hello, my name is Katrina Steven.
And I am Coleman Green, and we will be presenting on building equity in parent and school partnerships.
Yes, so the current study contributes to the parent involvement literature by examining involvement activities preferred by parents and its association with parent perceptions of school climate. So the procedures that were done, the correlational analysis was used to analyze 161 parents and their reports on preferred level of parent involvement and perceptions of school climate. The survey was conducted online via word of mouth and flyer recruitment. When we sent out the flyer recruitment posters, you can see to the left that the demographic characteristics of respondents included the race ethnicity of white Caucasian, which was the most reports that we got back. And then secondly, it was Latinx, and there was also Black African American, multi-heritage, biracial ethnic, and some who simply preferred not to answer. Within these ethnicities, these parents, the grade levels of their children involved K through 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So basically primary and secondary settings.
So for the results of the study, perceptions of overall satisfaction with their child's school are higher as home-based activities become less frequent. This is between the monthly, per grading period, and annually. And that can be seen in the parent demographics of all parent correlations of all demographics at the top, with home-based satisfaction being at a negative 0.235 correlation coefficient, which was significant at the 0.05 level. And then the perceptions of positive teacher-student relationships and clarity of school rules are higher as home-based activities become less frequent. So again, that's between the monthly per grading period and annually time periods. And then that is within the Latinx parent sample specifically, which can be seen at the parent correlations Latinx sample table at the top as well, with an emphasis on teacher-student relationships on the home-based level at a negative 0.510 correlation coefficient, and clear expectations on the home-based being a negative 0.486 correlation coefficient, again, significant at the 0.05 level. Unfortunately, because of the low sample size of Black and African American parents and multi-heritage, biracial and ethnic, and those that prefer not to answer, there is not significant data to suggest what trends those groups would follow. And then at the bottom, you see in the home-based versus school-based table 2, definitions of home-based and school-based activities are described here. So home-based activities consist of newsletters, parent-teacher phone calls, report cards, homework help, reinforcing appropriate behavior at school, and of course, discussing the value of the actual educational value. School-based activities are parent-teacher meetings, PTO memberships, attending school functions, and of course, volunteering at school. So essentially, anything at home is a home-based activity, and anything at school is a school-based activity.
So the adolescence and parent involvement. So due to the increased autonomy in adolescence, best practices in parent involvement activities with older youth involve periodic discussions about educational experiences. And this is a marked difference in parents' practices when their child was younger. So the current study reiterates positive outcomes in parent involvement practices with youth. Not only does less direct explicit parent involvement result in academic competency for youth, but less explicit involvement can also result in increased positive perceptions of school from parents.
So some of the home-based involvement vantage points include how the current study highlights the impact of home-based parent involvement activities compared to school-based involvement. And the results are consistent with the literature. Parents of youth adopt home-based involvement activities that are more direct. So with that, they're not just directly saying like, hey, do you need help with your homework? How was school today? It's more indirect and kind of just, hey, how's everything going? And then additionally, there are differences in types of home-based involvement based on racial and ethnic background of families. So, not every parent is going to be the same. Not every family is going to work the same because there is so much cultural differences between these groups.
So for building equity and parent involvement, overall, it is imperative that parents maintain levels of involvement in secondary school for their adolescent's child, even if it's not just constant every day, how are you, how's school, but some level of involvement is necessary for their educational purposes. Although parent involvement typically declines in late middle ages, it should be the role of the school staff to communicate that parent involvement in adolescence is still needed and valued. Teachers can reach out to parents and say, hey, come sit in a class or come just be involved in the student's life to help them benefit. The current study emphasizes that the different interpretations of home-based involvement can result in positive perceptions of school climate areas, including satisfaction for all parents and teacher-student communications and expectations for Latinx parents. So understanding the different pathways of parent involvement that lead to parents' positive school perceptions should be the forefront of all school parent engagement initiatives. In other words, there should never be a mindset that one type of home-based parent involvement fits all parents, because there are so many different levels of involvement that you can get into when we're talking about home-based activities, that it varies for everyone. So
how can schools foster a climate of equity in parent involvement home-based activities? One really useful tool that these schools can engage in is just parent assessments. And this is kind of what was talked about earlier with reaching out to the parents and asking them how they feel about this school. What components of school climate are most important and valued? What types of parent involvement practices are most meaningful for a positive parent-child relationship? And then what frequency do they want to receive contact from the school between newsletters, emails, and phone calls? And so these types of questions are really what the school should be asking the parents to make sure that they're providing the most positive experience for the parents, so that the parents can then pass that positive experience down to the child, and really just make sure that there is a healthy relationship between the school and the parents, so that nothing is miscommunicated, and so that these students can get the best education value possible. Another tool is communicating the value of autonomy-relevant parenting. So this is when parents have authentic and genuine interests in their child's preferences, needs, and independent problem solving. This includes actually sitting down and, rather than just kind of being half-mindedly while you're reading the newspaper or watching TV or something, saying, hey, how was school today? Actually sitting down with your child and saying, hey, how was school? What did you do? That can really help a child learn, because they see that they should be paying attention in school as well, because these parents are so concerned about what's happening in school. It kind of gives the idea that, okay, well, if my parent is this concerned about it, then I should be too. And that allows for students to really gain a lot of positive growth and independent problem-solving skills. And it just creates an environment where the parent can meet those needs of the children much easier. So overall, these considerations will help facilitate a culture of belonging for parents and students. So not only is this going to facilitate a culture of belonging for the parents, but also the students. They'll feel that they are more welcomed at school, that they belong more in school because the parents are concerned, because the parents know what's going on, as well as it'll facilitate a culture of belonging for parents, because the school is showing that they really do care about what the parents think and how they feel about the given subject. So these components of school climate, for instance, the parents are able to give direct feedback on what they think is important, so the school can then implement that clearly rather than just kind of playing a guessing game with it. And that is all we have. So thank you for your time.